spring semester early enrollees from the 2023 class: linebacker Arian Carter of Smyrna, Tennessee; defensive back Christian Conyer of Bowling Green, Kentucky; tight end Ethan Davis of Atlanta; defensive back Ricky Gibson III of Trussville, Alabama; place kicker Max Gobert of Memphis; defensive lineman Caleb Herring; defensive lineman David Hobbs; quarterback Nico Iamaleva; offensive lineman Larry Johnson III; offensive lineman Bison Lang; wide receiver Nathan Laycock; defensive back Jack Luttrell; defensive back Jordan Matthews; defensive lineman Nathan Robinson; wide receiver Cameron Selden; defensive back John Slaughter; linebacker Jalen Smith; linebacker Jeremiah Tellender; and offensive lineman Shamarad Umarov. Let me tell you quickly what I'm hearing about these guys at this point. Ethan Davis, now this is just going through light workouts, and some were participants in the bowl practice leading up to the Orange Bowl. I mean, Ethan Davis, just an incredible athlete, is going to have to mold into a tight end position, but athletically brings every bit to the table that Princeton Fant did, and maybe more. Hearing nothing but great things from David Hobbs, which you would expect. I don't think that's a surprise. And then we get to some of the guys that it's just a couple of things I've already heard about some people. I think Bison Lang needs to, work on his athleticism a little bit. I think that's going to continue to be something that he'll get better at. So already getting some feedback about some of these guys. But I want to get to the midterm guys. So I want to play a little game. Are you up for a game, Caleb Calhoun? Are you enthused? Are you excited? Are you fired up?
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Hit that like button if you want more people to be on board. It certainly helps us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, yesterday was a big subscription day, so we really appreciate that. It's brought to you by Guardian Investment Advisors, GIAPlantoday.com, GIAPlantoday.com. And when it comes to financial strategy, they not only show you where to put your money, but why you're putting it there. So we're going to play a little game. Thanks to GIAPlantoday.com. And by the way, with video teleconferencing, you can get the absolute best financial and advisement anywhere on the planet. So I want to play a little game, and we're going to call it Starter. Let's call it Start Bench Scrub. Okay? So we're going to look at the Start Bench Scrub. So start means you start a game this season, and it can be injury or not, but you start a game this season. Bench means the typical college football model where you'd sit a season, get used to college football play, and that's all understandable. And then you end up playing some ways down the line. Maybe it's next year, the year after. And then the last thing is scrub, which means that Josh Heupel is going to push him out the door in January. So I'm sorry it happens now. I used to, if you said that, I would get like a call from Philip Fulmer said I'd never do such a thing. But nowadays that's not the case. So we're gonna play starter, bench, scrub. Okay, so starter, bench, scrub. So here we go. We've got a music bed that we've used before that we love. So here we go. The pressure's on. I'll ask Caleb Calhoun, starter, bench, scrub. And we're going to talk about the 4 players that have transferred in at midterm. Okay. The transfers that played at another college, not the high school kids, although I might throw some high school kids in there, but I want to focus on the 4 that are in right now. So let's go. McAllen Castles, tight end from UC Davis. Starter, bench, scrub.
Going to go scrub because I think McAllen Castles was brought in for depth, and I think Ethan Davis is going to take the shine away from him and be the one to replace Princeton Fant.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to go on the other end of the spectrum. I'll say starter because I think they pretty much start 2 tight ends. So I'm going to go with starter. They swap drives is the way they did it last year. I'm going to say Ethan Davis isn't ready yet, but by midseason, you may very well be right. I think I'll be right in the beginning of the season. So I'll say starter.
You're just biased to FCS football players, Dave.
I do what?
I said you're just biased to FCS football players. You love those guys coming from those small schools, don't you?
I cannot get enough FCS. If my wife says it once, she said it a million times. All right. So linebacker Keenan Pili, he is a starter, bench, scrub.
Easiest call ever. Starter day one. He's not even going to get groomed behind anybody. He's starting immediately.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's kind of that. He's going to allow Aaron Beasley to play a little bit more free on the outside, and I think he's going to be that lockdown between the tackles type of linebacker. So that one was pretty easy. All right, so we'll move along. We both got Keenan Pili as a starter. Andre Carrick, offensive lineman. Andre Carrick from BYU. Your thoughts on Andre?
No, he's from Texas.
No, I'm sorry. Keenan Pili was from BYU. So let's go with Andre Carrick. What do you think? Starter, bench, scrub?
This is a shot in the dark for me because it comes down to him and another offensive lineman, and one of the transfers is going to start at right tackle. So flipping this coin, I'm going to go Andre Carrick. He's going to be the starter at right tackle. He was the one that Josh Heupel and the staff targeted first, and I think they did that for a reason.
I think he's the starter too. I've heard a lot of good things just in the short time that he's been on campus. So I think he's a starter as well. So we agree on that one. Now, let's go to the next. Place kicker Charles Campbell. Starter, bench, scrub.
Starter. Chase McGrath is gone. Charles Campbell's a proven kicker. So I'm going to go starter.
Yep, you would think so. All right, so I want to run through a couple of these high school guys. Now, those are midterm guys, so you expect them to all be starters, and if they're not, that's a problem. But I'm going to run through a couple of high school guys as they started class yesterday, and if you want me to tackle one of them I don't mention, then go right ahead. But one that you mentioned, Ethan Davis. Again, I'm not on board maybe as much as you that he starts right away. I think he ends up being an impact player and a fantastic tight end at Tennessee. I just don't see it immediately. I think he needs a little bit of molding, but eventually I think he'll be the type of athletic tight end that, my goodness, when's the last time they've had a really, really athletic tight end?
Athletic tight end where they had
the hot kid, maybe?
Michael Rivera, maybe, would you say?
Maybe. Yeah, I think this guy's more athletic than that. I'm trying to think back. Gosh, I don't want to go all the way back to Jason Witten. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody.
Yeah, after Witten, there was Brad Cottom, I remember, for a little while. Luke Stalker.
Luke was a pretty good pass catcher. Okay, if he's Luke Stalker or better, I think you're happy with that. But I actually think he's more athletic than that. Obviously, Nico, we've discussed this a lot. Starter, bench, scrub. He's not going to be a scrub. I think he starts before the end of the season. I think he starts going into October.
I think he should start going to the end of October because I think he's going to be better than Milton. But I say bench because I say that Heupel is going to give Milton every reason to keep the job.
Okay, so out of the defensive backs, John Slaughter, Jordan Matthews, Jack Luttrell, who am I leaving out? Ricky Gibson III. Who out of that group is most likely to be a starter?
Ooh, I would probably go with. It's a tough one, because I'm going to go Ricky Gibson because he was pretty highly touted and he plays cornerback. And there's, although Jordan Matthews does play cornerback too and was pretty highly touted, I will say that. But it's one of those two because I think one of the cornerbacks is going to be. Cornerback is where they have some real issues. So one of them is going to start, I think. I don't think either of them will start the whole season, but I think one of them is bound to start some games this year.
I'll take Matthews because I know that some big programs, especially Texas and LSU, were incredibly high on him.